Because DDP hasn't fought anybody like Khamzat, and Khamzat hasn't fought anybody like DDP. And if you look at Khamzat's fights, again, this can be the knock on him, not from me, from the fans.
It's very important. Like, he's gonna be super dangerous if he ain't getting tired in there. Yeah. Think about it. Look. Exactly what he said, what he did to, what's his name, Paul Walker?
Khamzat wrestling in the first round would be the most effective way that he wins the fight. Dricus is so unbalanced and clumsy, and if Dricus is throwing some big overhand and he gets off balance, as he does sometimes, Khamzat could get under that punch. And
UFC legend Rampage Jackson has spoken, and he is expecting absolute carnage. The former champ called Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis the most brutal fight in the division. Meanwhile, Brendan Schaub shared that he and his team had been analyzing the matchup, ultimately concluding that Khamzat Chimaev has made clear improvements in his cardio. While Dricus du Plessis' size initially raised concerns for Schaub, he felt confident after reviewing Khamzat's training that Chimaev would be able to manage the physical challenge effectively.
First thing I said to the boys when we were watching Khamzat train, I'm like, how's it, because especially what I do at breakdown fights, I'm like, how's his cardio? Like, buddy, not an issue at all. Because I was like, my biggest thing for him going to the DDP fight, DDP's a big dude, durable. So that how's Khamzat going to be in the 4th and 5th round? They're like, trust me, not an issue. Like, shit.
Furthermore, Brendan Schaub points out that Dricus du Plessis is physically huge with an unorthodox fighting style that poses unique challenges. He expressed interest in seeing if Khamzat Chimaev can go the distance against a fighter like DDP, highlighting the intrigue surrounding how Chimaev would handle a full-length bout under that pressure.
Bisping's a big dude. DDP dwarfs big. DDP walks around about 240. I'm 240 right now.
At what weight class he fight?
Light heavy. DDP's huge. So he's durable and unorthodox. So the odds makers are going to say, the first round, of course, if Khamzat wins, and if it ends before 2 rounds, it's Khamzat all day. I would extend that after seeing this to even the first 3 rounds. 4 and 5 is what I want to see. I want to see Khamzat in the 4th and 5th. And if Khamzat's lighting his ass up, because DDP is going to be tough to finish. So if Khamzat's in the 4th and 5th finish him, then you got one. We got a real one.
I thought these...
Moreover, Brendan Schaub adds that neither Khamzat Chimaev nor Dricus du Plessis has faced a challenge quite like the one they're about to encounter in each other. He believes the fight is wide open and could go either way. Schaub cautions that if Chimaev fights with the same reckless approach he showed against Gilbert Burns, he could be in trouble against du Plessis.
Because DDP hasn't fought anybody like Khamzat, and Khamzat hasn't fought anybody like DDP. And if you look at Khamzat's fights, again, this can be the knock on him, not from me, from the fan base. It's going to be Kamaru Usman. If that was 5 rounds, he probably would have lost that one. Again, he was dealing with a health issue. His fight against Gilbert Burns, that was 5 rounds. That was kind of back and forth. If he fights like that, which he's not going to, their odd makers are going to sway towards DDP.
However, he also points to du Plessis' dominant win over Robert Whittaker as a reminder of the high level both fighters are bringing into the cage.
But again, his fight against Robert Whittaker, you're like, what the? That broke his jaw.
Yeah, from a choke.
Yeah, Robert Whittaker's the deal, man. Nobody what? Robert Whittaker, bro, he's so good. He dogball.
Speaking of Whittaker, he weighed in on the matchup, predicting that Khamzat Chimaev will look to take Dricus du Plessis to the ground early. While he doesn't expect Chimaev to secure a finish there, Robert believes Chimaev's best chance lies in the first round, for if it goes beyond that, Khamzat's chances get slimmer by the minute.
Honestly, Chimaev is going to get him to the ground. If he doesn't finish him there, I don't think he wins. That's just how I feel. I think if you can't get Dricus out in the first, which Chimaev can do, his first round finishes is his thing, right? But if he doesn't get him out of there, I think Dricus looks good, looks very promising. He's a guy that if you don't get rid of, he kind of wins.
Who do you think? I think the longer the fight goes, Dricus is more favourable. Chimaev has outstanding first round finishes, but every fight that's gone the distance has been close.
Robert Whittaker predicts Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. Robert Whittaker thinks if Khamzat Chimaev can't finish Dricus du Plessis in the early rounds, the South African fighter will somehow find a way to beat Chimaev.
Commenting on Khamzat Chimaev's performance against Robert Whittaker, Yoel Romero points out that Whittaker has accumulated a lot of wear and tear over the years. He emphasizes that Whittaker is physically smaller than Dricus du Plessis and far more worn down. Therefore, Romero believes that what Khamzat did to previous opponents, including Whittaker, holds little weight in this matchup, as du Plessis presents a completely different kind of challenge.
Me rompió peso, esta pelea con
Pero son dos peleadores distintos.
Sí, Whittaker
Y Whittaker está muy dañado.
Ajá.
Muy dañado está Whittaker.
Sí, no puedes comparar.
No estamos hablando de la calidad, sino ya, mira, el cuerpo de Whittaker es mucho más pequeño,
Sí.
¿me entiendes? Está mucho más desgastado, más dañado. Acuérdate que Whittaker ha pasado por muchísimas batallas. Un guerrero. Fantástico, fenomenal atleta. Ve, Whittaker se mueve más rápido, pero no tiene esa potencia, esa fuerza.
Vamos.
On the other hand, the Weasel pointed out that Khamzat Chimaev burned through a lot of energy early in his fight with Kamaru Usman, which led to noticeable fatigue. In contrast, during the bout with Gilbert Burns, Chimaev relied more on striking than grappling. Looking ahead, the Weasel believes Dricus du Plessis will bring a similar high-pressure pace, while also being significantly larger than Burns, which could recreate that same
He
chaotic...
did point out Gilbert Burns as an example of him gassing out because he wrestled so heavy in the first round, as well as Kamaru Usman. The Usman fight, yes, right, he did wrestle a lot, but against Burns, he didn't. Against Burns, he actually struck a lot more, and because of how fast-paced that fight was, he started to slow down later in the fight. And we know that Dricus is going to bring a similar pace, a lot of pressure, while also being a bigger fighter than Gilbert Burns, causing that similar kind of chaotic striking pace. So it's an interesting take from Khabib, and I do agree with him that Khamzat has better form with his boxing. He has better fundamentals with his jab and right straight. He's good with his balance, he has his feet under him when he throws punches, whereas Dricus is like flopping around and even falling over.
In addition, the Weasel believes Khamzat Chimaev's most effective path to victory would be utilizing his wrestling early in the fight. He describes Dricus du Plessis as unbalanced and awkward in his movement, suggesting that if du Plessis throws an overhand and loses stability, Chimaev could easily capitalize with a well-timed takedown.
Over at times. I just don't think throughout 5 rounds that Khamzat is going to outstrike Dricus. Now, if he does, if Khamzat listens to that interview and he takes Khabib's advice, outstrikes Dricus, then Khabib is just like the Yoda of MMA. I don't know, he's a genius. I just don't think that's how the fight goes. I think Khamzat wrestling in the first round would be the most effective way that he wins the fight. Dricus is so unbalanced and clumsy, and if Dricus is throwing some big overhand and he gets off balance, as he does sometimes, Khamzat can get under that punch and take him down even easier. And the thing about Dricus is he hasn't really fought that many wrestlers, right? I mean, to break down this, he fought Derek Brunson, he fought Robert Whittaker. No one even comes close to the level of Khamzat's wrestling. Khamzat may be the best wrestler we've ever seen in the middleweight division in terms of MMA. Of course, we have Romero who wrestled in the Olympics, but his wrestling didn't translate.
Adding to that, Rampage Jackson believes Khamzat Chimaev will be extremely dangerous if he manages to maintain his gas tank and go the distance. He sees a scenario where Chimaev overwhelms and dismantles Dricus du Plessis in a similar fashion to how he dominated Robert Whittaker.
It's very important. Like, he's gonna be super dangerous if he ain't getting tired in there.
Yeah.
Think about it. Look, it's like what he said, what he did to what's his name, Paul Walker.
Whittaker. No.
In addition, Bear DeGidio addressed the growing online narrative suggesting that if DDP survives the first round, the fight could become difficult for Khamzat Chimaev.
We see everybody on the internet talking about if DDP doesn't get finished in the first round, it's going to be hard for Khamzat. And they said that if Khamzat can obviously win, he's going to win in the first round. Me personally, I think Khamzat could kill him in any round. I think Khamzat's the most explosive fighter in the UFC.
Countering that view, DeGidio voiced strong support for Chimaev, stating that Khamzat has the ability to finish du Plessis in any round and remains a threat throughout the fight.
But the way Khamzat
Different animal.
kind of puts together his wrestling, puts together his kind of conditioning, his striking, but the way he puts that together in the cage, who has DDP fought that's even close to that style, that explosive, shoot from 10 feet out, grab you, not let go till he gets what he wants?
That's why it's a great fight.
Oh, got it.
Because so much about him. His style's different. He's dope, dude.
I think one thing I do like about DDP is the way he fights is very exciting. So as a fight fan, I'm like, all
He's
right,
a
cool.
dog.
You don't know what's gonna happen. So I like that. But lately I've been trying to learn from Rampage and TJ and not picking a side, but I've been trying to work with the same guys and then bring in more guys that they're friends with, like the Armin thing, for example.
That makes sense.
Worked with him for a little bit.
However, Yoel Romero highlighted the size difference between himself and Dricus du Plessis, describing du Plessis as being built like a guajiro. He noted that although du Plessis may not be particularly fast, he is an explosive athlete whose movements carry significant weight. According to Romero, everything du Plessis throws is powerful and intentional, with his punches landing like heavy bombs in a somewhat awkward and complicated style.
Y pesado.
Y pesado.
Él es un tipo, como nosotros le llamamos en Cuba, un tipo como un guajiro. Porque si tú lo ves, no es un tipo tan rápido, pero es explosivo. Él no es rápido, pero es explosivo. Y todo lo que hace es como pesado. Deep, las manos son pesadas. ¡Bam! Este hace ¡bam, bam, bam!
Y pelea extraño.
Extraño, un poco un tipo complicado.
Ajá.
Esa gente así que no son tan lúcidos, que no son tan bonitos, pero son complicados, te pueden enredar.
Hence, Yoel Romero believes this matchup will be a highly intriguing fight with major implications, as the outcome could shape the direction of the division. He suggests that if Khamzat Chimaev comes out on top, Paulo Costa might emerge as the next contender, especially given the controversy and attention Costa has been generating in recent months.
Interesante, bro.
Una pelea sumamente interesante donde va a detonar muchísimas entradas dependiendo de quién gane. Porque, por ejemplo, si gana Chimaev, pudiera entrar en acción ahí Pablo Costa.
Claro.
Por todo lo que se ha venido vendiendo. La polémica entre ambos. Ahora esta última apariencia, esta última el último desempeño que tuvo Pablo Costa fue fenomenal.
Additionally, Tito Ortiz believes fans are about to witness Khamzat Chimaev enter full beast mode, calling him a monster inside the cage. While acknowledging Dricus du Plessis as the current champion, Ortiz claims du Plessis will soon realize that Chimaev operates on an entirely different level.
How do you predict that fight plays out?
People are going to see how vicious Chimaev truly is. I respect the guy. He's a monster. Du Plessis, the champ, I think he's in him for a rude awakening because he's going to realize that his wrestling is not as good as Chimaev's truly is. And it was heartbreaking for me in that middleweight division because when Bo Nichols got picked apart his last fight, I was like, man, why didn't you wrestle? You're one of the best guys in the world in wrestling. Use your wrestling. And that's what all the Russians do. They use their wrestling to set up punches. They use their punches to set up the wrestling. And then they take people down and they choke them.
Expanding on that, Din Thomas states that a Khamzat victory could create complications for the UFC's middleweight division. He hinted that an instant rematch might be considered, depending on how the bout unfolds.
No, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. If Khamzat wins, it's a disaster, actually, because you can't tell me that a part of you is just like thinking this fight actually might not happen.
Of course, I
That's
see
right.
everyone
And
saying
it's not
it.
because
I'm
of
trying to be
Dricus.
optimistic, though. Let's say like Khamzat.
Well, no, I'm not gonna be pessimistic about it and say he's gonna show up. But my point is that if he does show up and he does win, do we trust him to be able to fight again? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing, is like, can he do it twice, 2 or 3 times? Because we need movement. Like, I hate when it's just like static, when there's no movement in these.
However, Tito Ortiz predicts that Khamzat Chimaev will be too much for Dricus du Plessis to handle, expecting the finish to come in the 3rd or 4th round. He mentions that after discussing the matchup with Rampage Jackson, his confidence in Chimaev's ability to get the job done only increased.
Because they're really good at it. I think Chimaev, I would give it maybe 4 rounds, 3 to 4 rounds. I think Chimaev just overwhelms him too much. I think that's my opinion. Once again, I watch him. I watch Chimaev. I just see how tough he is, and I know he had training camp actually at Jackson Clothing Company or Jackson in California, correct? And was it
With Bear and Rampage is also there.
Yep. And so I know he's doing really well. I talked to Rampage. Rampage goes, no, he's the real deal, Tito. I go, I see him. Like, I watch his fights and how vicious. I mean, he can shoot a double leg from half the cage and still take a guy down. He's just very vicious.
Furthermore, Michael Paige praised Khamzat after training with him, calling it a once-in-a-lifetime experience that was both profound and highly educational. Paige emphasized Khamzat's exceptional skill set, stating that his abilities inspire others to improve and push themselves.
Man, I would love to.
You trained with Khamzat as well?
Yeah, and you know what? Seeing somebody as special in person when they're training, it's a beautiful thing to watch, and it just inspires me more because he's exceptional in a completely different area to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm very good in my area
as well. When you were training with
100%, and you know, there's certain people that demand the room.
Yeah.
He walks in and he demands the room. You know, everyone. He's just, you can tell he's a superstar.
Yeah.
But he's so good in his area, and just watching it, I was just like, yeah, it's unbelievable. I appreciate it. Like I said, it inspires me to go and, you know.
However, Michael Paige stated that he usually supports Chimaev to win, but this time, he struggles to confidently choose between Dricus du Plessis and Chimaev, which highlights just how close the matchup is.
DDP is somebody that is the complete opposite. I don't get how he keeps winning. As in, he's not a person I look at and think, oh man, super talented. And obviously there's something about him because he keeps winning. And sometimes even that is an art, knowing how to win.
Do you reckon it's psychological that he's got tremendous will?
He has to be well trained, obviously, and he does do things, but he just seems messy to me. But at the same time, you have to give him his flowers. You have to give him his respect because he's still winning. And this is what, that every time I put my money against him, shall I say,
yeah,
he always comes up on top. So it's just, I would normally say Khamzat would win this fight.
Yeah.
But it's just hard to say, man. He's just a person that
you think it's a close one?
This is very, very exceptional fight.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be there live in flesh because I'm fighting that night as well.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
I wanted to ask you.
Building on that, Lucas Tracy believes Khamzat Chimaev shouldn't adopt a cautious strategy, arguing that Dricus du Plessis won't give him the space to do so. He predicts du Plessis will land a few clean shots early, frustrate Chimaev, and provoke him into fighting emotionally rather than sticking to a composed game plan.
Khamzat can have this patient approach. I don't think Dricus will allow that. I think Dricus will tag him a couple of times, piss him off, and Khamzat's going to start fighting with his ego because, you know, Khamzat's a savage, and some fighters are just like that. And I'm like, dude, I don't think it's the best idea to fight against that instinct, dude. Do what works for you. You know, you have boxers back in the day that were really successful. They just saw red.
Adding to that, Lucas Tracy explains that Khamzat Chimaev won't have the luxury of slowing the pace or engaging in measured striking exchanges. Against Dricus du Plessis, the fight turns into a chaotic, unrefined brawl, leaving no room for a calm, technical approach.
That needs to be made. There's two paths. Unlike what you're seeing on screen, where one path leads to nothing but good things, both paths could lead to good things, but both paths could equally lead to horrible demises for Khamzat Chimaev. And this is the nature of this fight. This is why I'm so...
But the only real alternative for Khamzat is to apply relentless pressure from the start. But Lucas points out that this aggressive style hasn't managed to put away elite opponents like Kamaru Usman. He warns that if Chimaev doesn't secure a finish in the opening round, the momentum could shift.
Because if he goes all gas, no brakes, and he hasn't finished every single truly elite fighter. He didn't finish Kamaru Usman. Didn't finish Gilbert Burns. I know Gilbert Burns is a wizard on the ground. It's going to be easier to finish Dricus du Plessis compared to Gilbert Burns on the ground. But the point that I'm making is, if he doesn't get the finish in the first round, it really gets bad for him. Like, I'm telling you, I think if he goes all gas, no brakes, those last few seconds, when you hear, if you're rooting for Khamzat, you hear the indication that there's only 10 more seconds in the round, you're going to be sweating bullets.
As the anticipation builds for what many are calling the most explosive middleweight showdown, one thing is clear: Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis is a stylistic powder keg ready to erupt. Which side are you on? Drop your predictions in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a beat, and we will see you in the next video with more exciting updates.